Hey guys, it's Rabbi Sherrod here. So last week we gave a class on grappling in Halacha, or in Jewish law. This week we just got finished with a warm up. This week we're going to talk about striking in Halacha, and with me today I have the honor and privilege of working with Wolfman over here. His current record in kickboxing is 5-1. Got some of his few medals, and equally, if not more so important, shout out to Immortals Jiu-Jitsu in Clifton, New Jersey, allowing us to use this beautiful space. And definitely shout out to Coach Mike Rakshan. So we're going to do some 3-minute rounds. We're going to spar a little while I attempt to give sheer in halacha and striking. So let's get it. Okay. So last week, just to recap, we spoke about the Rambam. What happens if you strike a person in strife? That's prohibited. You're called an evil person. So, what happens if you strike, but it's not for strife or you're no intent? So, additionally, we left that question open-ended. Get ready, you can move around with us a little too. So another thing is what about if you have two people grappling each other and someone accidentally gets hurt? You have that intent. That consent between both parties. So in that end, you would be putter or exempt from any damages associated with that. So, before we begin to discuss that, we have to discuss a concept in halacha about mechila or forgiveness. Now, if I go to Reuben and I tell him cut off my arm, it's okay, I forgive you automatically. We don't listen to such a person. Because the guy's a meshugana, basically. We don't listen to him. So even if Reuben comes to you to do that, you're not allowed to do it. So what about striking? So there's another concept about what is the minimum amount in Jewish law in terms of damages. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna fall off. No. So, and that is a sheva pruta. So, if it's more than a sheva pruta, technically that registers on our radar in terms of financial damages. What is a sheva pruta? So it's basically 1/40th of a gram, which nowadays is about a little over a nickel. Okay, hold on. So that was more than a nickel. Good body shot. Okay. So, question is, in sparring, when you get, okay, good, round one. Okay. So in sparring, first of all, crazy people like us actually pay money to do this thing. But in sparring, number one, at least with light sparring, is it more than a sheva pruta or less, where you consider that automatic forgiveness? But there's a really important factor here, and that is, I'll give you an example. So, the rush, we mentioned last week, the Shulchan Aruch paskins like the rush. Easy, good. That when two people are grappling, someone gets hurt. Since we're both in it, and we have that consent behind it, it's fine. But what about this din, of this rule that we've been discussing about this sheva pruta, about the minimal amount, this nickel or whatever it is. So, with that, I want to share with you a Shulchan Aruch Harav, two Shulchan Aruch Harav, and a conversation I had with a dayan, as well as a sefer called Shas and Shuvas Takanas Hiskim, I think it's called. So there are two Shulchan Aruch Harabs here. In the Klalish Chayshon Mishpat, it discusses on rule number 2. The Shulchan Aruch Harav discusses this thing about more than a shever pruta. So, okay. So in that second rule, he discusses it more. If it's more than a shever pruta, you don't have automatic mechila, which, there we go. Sorry about that. Hold on. By the way, this shirt makes me look fat, so don't judge. Shout out to Pure MMA, by the way. Okay, anyway. So, that in Sif Dalit, which a lot of people assume based off that din alone, that it would be prohibited to do what we're doing according to Shulchan Aruch Harav. It would be against another Jew. Corey isn't, Wolfman here isn't Jewish, but don't let his nose fool you. Oh, got him! Okay, the second rule in Sif Dalit is about the rule of the rush. About if two people are going at it, then if there's consent between the two parties, then you don't have to worry about damages. So the question is, what if the Shulchan Aruch Harav understood it how we are, that even more than shever pruta, it would be prohibited. Then, hold on a second. Then it would be the opposite format, where the rule of Daled that the Rush mentioned should go first, with the caveat of this shever pruta business. So the fact that the Shulchan Aruch Harav, at least this is my chiddush here. Oh, all right, 20 seconds. Let's go. So the fact that the Shulchan Aruch Harav does the opposite order. Ooh, fancy. Then, the fact of the matter that he does the opposite order shows that even in a case where it may be slightly more than a shever pruta, you have the both parties' consent. It seems that there also would be, it would be okay. In fact, I spoke to a certain dayan. Well, I didn't ask him permission to name him, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind. He mentioned that the Jews Rush L'chaira would be equally applicable. Now, all this is with light sparring. With hard sparring, we get into a gray area. And that is when we talk about injuries. Are we talking about injuries which, okay, I got a black eye. Okay, it'll get better in a week or two. No biggie. But gosh forbid someone gets CTE or lifelong injury. Could be that's different. And then that would be equal to the person. The fact of the matter that he does the opposite order shows that even in a case where it may be slightly more than a shever pruta, you have the both parties' consent. It seems that there also would be, it would be okay. In fact, I spoke to a certain dayan. Well, I didn't ask him permission to name him, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind. He mentioned that the Jews Rush L'chaira would be equally applicable. Now, all this is with light sparring. With hard sparring, we get into a gray area. And that is when we talk about injuries. Are we talking about injuries which, okay, I got a black eye. Okay, it'll get better in a week or two. No biggie. But gosh forbid someone gets CTE or lifelong injury. Could be that's different. And then that would be equal to the person, the B'shugana guy going, cut off my arm, where it's a long-lasting injury for the rest of your life. That is more of a question and probably prohibited, at least when you're hard sparring another Jew. So, with that, I'll see you next week where we're going to talk about, are you allowed to compete in combat sports? Jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA matches. Are you putting yourself in danger? Which, you're not allowed to put yourself in danger. Also, maybe it's just a questionable, a suffix sakana, not a vada, not a guarantee that you'll get hurt. So, till next time, guys. We're going to...